Hey everybody, welcome back to DIY Buddy Guy. As promised, here's the video on installing a tube in a tire. Just a couple of things to point out. The tools that we're going to use are these flat bars, mostly. These are called tire irons or tire spoons. They're pretty handy. You can get them Harbor Freight. Don't recommend it because they're cheap. Or Tractor Supply. But whatever tools you get, just make sure they're good quality ones that are strong. We also have this valve stem tool purchased at Walmart. You can see them in the automotive section, and it has a couple of different functions for threading, cleaning up, chasing the threads on valve stem, what have you, removing the Schrader, the piece on the middle, or just screwing this over the end of the valve stem, which is what we're going to use this for today. And it's going to serve a couple of purposes. First, we need to remove the Schrader valve stem from here, the Schrader core from the valve stem. Then we need to remove the valve stem, and then we're going to use this tool to help install the new tube. A couple things. The tire size we're working with is 15 by 6.5 by 8. The way that works is it's 15 inches from here to here. Tire is 6.5 wide, and it's an 8-inch rim. The tube that I have to install is 16 by 6.5 by 8. It's a little bit bigger this way. It's okay to go a little bit bigger with your tubes. It's not okay to go smaller. Because if you have a small tube and you try to overinflate it to fill a bigger space, you might break the tube or possibly get hurt. But if you put a little bit bigger tube in there and inflate it, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Just pay attention and be careful, but to go a little bit bigger is fine. So what I'm going to do first is set up my tripod, and I'll show you what's next. So what I'm going to do now is remove the Schrader core from the valve stem using this tool here. It has a recessed portion. Maybe with a great camera to focus. Sorry about the cameras. Too much technology. Anyway, you can install it. You can insert it. Just line up the groove with the shape of the valve core. Just another thing to note, it's relatively easy to determine if a tire already has a tube in it or not, just by looking at the valve stem. Do you see how the base of this one here is wide? It's not straight, it's wide, and it covers portions of the rim, and you can tell there's another part behind it. That's because this valve stem has to plug up, has to seal around the rim, as opposed to the valve stem on the tube. Although this one's at a 90 degree, it's symmetrical, it's straight. It's not going to seal against the rim. So if this were to be a tube, this would be straight side, smooth, and it would not be sealing against the rim. And that's how you can tell if you have a tube on the inside. So to remove the there's a little bit of air in there. So this is the core. Sorry about the camera. iPhone 15. Too much technology. Not the best. There's the core from the valve stem, and it has a threaded portion on top, and the red band is the seal. We're going to set this on the side for now. We don't need it. So now what we're going to do is take this tool with the bigger portion that's going to thread over the end of the valve stem. And tighten it all the way down. And we need to remove that valve stem to make room for the valve stem on the tube. The simple way of doing that is grab a pair of needle nose pliers, put it underneath, and then pry against the edge of the rim. It might take a little bit of effort, but you work it back and forth, and that'll pop right out. Okay, so I removed the valve stem from the rim. As you can see, that's where the valve stem goes. Here's the cap. Set that on the side. The next part of the project that's probably the most challenging is to break the bead of the tire from the rim. This lip right here is where the edge of the tire sits on the inside. It's a very tight fit, and mind you, being airtight, this seals against this, and it's pretty firm. So one of the methods to use to do that is you take a tire spoon, right? You get it in there. See, the end is mushroomed over right here. You beat on it with a hammer, work your way around. I made another video where I used a vacuum pump to try to collapse the tire to help it break the rim. But I'm going to show you a trick, real easy method to getting that off. Okay, so the easiest method I found for breaking the bead on a tire is, well, using a tire machine that has a bead breaker designed for it. And it's kind of simple. So you pull this arm back here, and let's see if we can work this out. You get the tire lined up right where the bead breaker lines up with the edge of the tire on the bead, and then you get it lined up. You push this pedal over here and watch her go. Easy peasy. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, and we need to have the tire loose from the rim in order to get the tube in there. So hold on a second, I'll get the other side done. Okay, so now that the bead has been broken on both sides of the tire, you can push it off the rim here and back here. What I need to do next is to get the top part of the tire on top of the rim. And the way to do that is to use the tire spoons again. Remember, I skipped using them to break the bead because I had the bead breaker. But this is going to take a little bit of effort and two hands, but little bites. You get it started, and then you get your next tire spoon in there, and little bites. You work your way around, and you slowly work the tire off the rim just to get yourself some room. Okay, another trick you can use to, once you get your tire spoon in there, the other one started, I stuck this pin. It's just a piece of steel rod in the middle, and by pushing down on both sides of the bars, it opens, like instead of closing scissors, it opens them, and it takes the tire, pulls it up on top of the rim. Okay, the next step, once I've gotten the tire from the rim, this is what it should look like. I want one side to remain on the rim and the other side up. And what I need to do next is locate the hole for where the valve stem. Remove the cap from the new valve stem, orient the tube. You can see that the tube is slightly offset to one side. So I want to set this up where the tube lines up with the rim, the hole for the valve stem in the rim, so that when it goes in there, it's going to be happy. So my next step is I'm going to get the valve stem through the rim and then put that tool back on there, and it'll hold it in place for me. Okay, I have the valve stem through the rim. I have this tool on there, and now it can't fall out. It can't go anywhere, and it's going to make sure that it stays lined up. The next part is to stretch the rim, stretch the tube around the rim to get it inside. Essentially where this portion, you want the tube to sit in here, this portion of the tire. What you want to do is be careful. Check for any metal burrs along the edge, especially using the tire irons to pry the tire off the rim. Make sure it's smooth. If there are burrs, use a grinder or a file or something just to knock them down and make sure they're smooth. You have to keep everything clean because you don't want a metal burr to be on there and then the tube to catch it on the rim and tear. Then you got to patch the tube. So the hole in the middle of the tube is a little bit smaller than the outside of the rim, which is fine. You're going to have to gently stretch the tube to get it around the edge of the rim. And I'm going to work on that now. Okay, I have the valve stem being held in place with the tool. You may not be able to see it because it's dark, but the tube is in there. I just gently worked it all the way around, and it's kind of convenient because I could set the tire on my knees like this, and the rim would sit lower, and it gave me some space to work and gently work the tube all the way around the rim. And that's how she sits. Now the next part is a little bit of a challenge. You have to be able to work the tire back over the edge of the rim without pinching the tube with the tire iron. The tube is in there. I know the light's terrible, I apologize. But see that blue line there is a tube. You have to be able to work the tire back around the rim using your tire spoons without pinching the tube. So just go slow, little bites, take your time, be careful. And then if you put your tire spoon in there deeper than what you need is when you're going to catch the tube. So kind of try to keep it shallow just along the edge of the rim, and then you can work your way around taking little bites. All right, that took a little bit of effort, but I used my spoons to get into the tire to work it around without going too deep to pinch the tube. Sometimes you can kind of get the edge started and then kneel on it or put your feet on it or have someone hold it. This rim was too small for the tire machine to hold, so I had to do it the old-fashioned way. They worked it around, and this handy little tool here kept the valve stem where it ought to be. So the next part is to hold the valve stem and inflate the tube. Just about every tire has printed on it somewhere the pressure to inflate it to. It says 14 psi max, and then it also gives you a warning: overinflating the rated psi may cause injury. So inflating the tube, we have to put enough air in the tube to get the tube to push the tire back onto the bead of the rim, the bead of the tire onto the rim, without putting too much pressure in there to overinflate it. Sometimes you can use tire slime or soapy water, what have you, and just put it in this joint here. And then when you inflate it, it allows the tire to slide onto the rim a little easy, with a little bit more ease. I'm probably going to use soapy water. I got some in a spray bottle, and then I'll hold the valve stem, put my air hose on there, and carefully inflate it. Make sure you don't want anything in here when the tire is inflating. You get caught in there, that's a lot of pressure. It's going to hurt, or worse. Don't do that. So just make sure everything is safe and clear when you hook up your air hose and inflate the tire to the recommended PSI. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching.